know what? I guess it's exciting whether it was earlier or today. It's just a different era. And it's bigger guys. Like when I started, there was only what, 2 or 3 super heavyweights. Don Reinhardt, was my idol. 1974 at the Worlds with Bob Hoffman. And scared to death I was as a kid thinking, wow, I wonder if he'll talk to me. He's such, he scared me in the restaurant. Such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. And then all of a sudden you meet Dave Passanella from Atlanta, Georgia, the Georgia Tech coach. Super strong guy, but yet go to help kids, and that was my whole life, is to help kids. My goal was not to build teams, not to build guys to be like Superman this big and stuff like this here, because you see a lot of super heavyweights and everybody looks like a monster, But my goal was to help kids out, and I set up the prisons for 15 years. I was a chief of police before I went into recreation, and I was a carpenter before that. And but my whole life wrapped around strength. And after I made a promise to God that if I got out of the Korean War, which I was a short, reckless kid, and I was mapping out mines, if I made it back, I was going to help kids out so they'd stay in school, which I didn't do. And so I did. That's what my goal was. And then as you become better at helping kids in the YMCAs, and then your own gym, and then the juvenile schools, and then the directors downstate of Illinois said, you did a great job. Do it with the big prison, Stateville and Joliet and that. So then I started setting it up there, making teams. I made the very first team of heavy inmates to compete in Aurora, Illinois. But that was my first Worlds, and I was thrilled to death with it. My first Worlds after that was with Rhino in York, Pennsylvania, when Bob Hoffman was my age, was 80, and was celebrating his 80th birthday. Well, there was Now Foods. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's health foods. And it used to be Ferns, and the owner of that there, in the early 50s, we used to sit and he'd do the research of proteins, vitamins, until he opened up his own. Now he's a multi-billionaire, and he's 80 years old, and his son who runs the factory wouldn't even talk to me unless, because my place burnt, and wouldn't even sell me the raw protein because I mixed my own proteins with the vitamins and mixed them ever since. And he came to my defense and says, you sell Ernie Frantz protein. And he rides his bike on his 80th birthday for 80 miles. So when you always set a goal, just like guys here, we'll set goals of what the image is about your age, your weight, and who's better than you, and how I'm gonna get there to beat them. And a championship like this here, if you had 100, 150 people, you were lucky. That's at a national or world. If you had a little meet, you had 30, 40 people. Now you have, I thought I ran the biggest Worlds in Las Vegas in the year 2000. I had 600 lifters there. I spent $60,000 to run the meet there. I made like $63,000 out of it when I was done because I gave so much away. And I enjoyed it more that way than any way. I enjoy giving. My wife gets mad at me for that. So does Amy, and she runs the whole show. I was looking at it. I was thinking now it looks better, especially the bench, where you can jack that thing up to different heights real easy, because they got that in there. And I think it looks good. I didn't like it the last time they had it because it was too rinky-dink. I don't know if you remember the first one that they put on. And Karen held it, but everybody was complaining about falling over and everything. because you get under the bar and you go start wobbling like that there. And I started to say something, but I learned don't open your mouth with Kieran. You just live with the way it's gonna go, you know. And he says, "Well, you guys keep complaining, you can go home. You gotta live with what you got." But now I see the equipment is really nice. It's all good. Looks good. It's solid.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.